Hi, good morning, everybody. Welcome to week two. So I wanted to get on here and introduce myself and Miss Fletcher because a lot of videos we're going to be doing together. We have found that in the past, whenever we taught online courses, that just having an extra person on the video helps explain it differently. It allows to give a different perspective. So we've just found that it's been really helpful for other classes. So we're going to try it again this semester. Tell me what you think.
It also ups the energy, I find.
Yes,
For me.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Few questions we always get. No, we're not sisters. We're not twins, which would have to be a sister
Yeah,
to be a
you
twin. But some ask that.
We just met 6 years ago and we both got hired at the same time, and here we are.
Yes, we do look very similar. But anyway, we act similar too, which is fun. But anyway, so we wanted to just kind of do some videos with both of us in them, just to give a better explanation, because whenever I'm talking to a camera and vice versa, we think we know what we're talking about, but sometimes we need that clarification. So it just keeps us more direct.
Yep. We'll also post the PowerPoints too, so you guys can review them without the video if you learn better that way too. So options.
I don't know. Why would you not want to hear us? We're very
Yeah.
We're friendly, y'all.
But we're going to start this class off by talking about what's an argument, because this class is argument and persuasion. So we first needed to talk about what's an argument, what are the qualities of good or bad argument. So that's kind of what we're going to go through in this video today. So first question, what is an argument? And it is not us fighting about how cold it is in our offices.
Right. No, and typically when we think of an argument, we think of a fight, right? Back and forth, winner and loser. And that's not really what an academic argument is. So we're going to kind of go through the key building blocks of what an argument entails.
And when we talk about arguments, we're talking about academic arguments. Like Dr. Thayer said, they involve critical thinking. They have to have claims based on evidence, which we'll talk about in just a minute. But these are used to help change our perspective on things, to maybe bring about action, or to ask the reader to sort of accept the writer's analysis, explanation, evaluation, etc., of a concept or problem. So it's about, again, more than just our traditional thinking of arguing with a person.
Right. And there is a big difference between argument and persuasion, right? So argument is about influencing the reader, right? So using evidence and reasoning to kind of express your own point of view. Whereas persuasion, you are aggressively trying to change the reader's opinion, right? And so sometimes an argument can be persuasive because of the valid evidence and reasoning, but the end goal isn't to persuade. It's not to make the readers think exactly what they think. It's just to share their perspective. Okay. And so when we think of an argument, think of like your magazine, your journal arguments, those tend to be more academic. Whereas if you look at like a debate or advertising or, any conversation on social media nowadays, it's all persuasive, right?
Yeah.
It's all, I have an idea, I want to push onto you. That's not an academic argument.
No. And especially advertising. I mean, if you think about advertising, it rarely ever uses logic and reasoning. I was looking for my phone. I have an Apple iPhone. My brother has an Android phone. He's always telling me his phone is better than mine. And he's always actually providing an argument where he's like, my phone has blah, blah, blah megapixels and this kind of processor. And I'm like, yeah, but my phone's cool and yours is not. Right? Because I've been persuaded by those cool Apple ads to think that these are the cooler of the phones, even though I could not make a good argument for it.
No, not at all. Miss Fletcher just wants to be cool.
I mean, I am cool, so it's not a question. Here are some places where students sometimes get confused. So sometimes students confuse argument with debate. So again, that idea that you're trying to win, or think of it as a fight like we've talked about.
Right. Or thinking that there's only two sides to an argument. And we know that that's not true, even though we live in a world right now where it's like you're either on this side or this side, which is ridiculous. There's so many different nuances in an argument. Okay. And so we have to really think beyond just black and white. There's so many different shades of gray in there. And you want to make sure that you're citing credible research, but a variety of it. So you're not just jumping on that first source that you see because they're really compelling and ignoring all other points of view. So making sure that you're listening to the whole conversation before you jump in, right? That's a big one. Don't just, connect to one source and that be it. Okay. You also want to make sure that you're not mistaking argument for opinion, right? Argument has reasons evidence. You can support your point of view with actual research.
Yeah, facts and logic. It's grounded in logic and critical thinking.
Exactly. Whereas an opinion is just like, I don't like it because I don't like it, right? Miss
Yep.
Fletcher doesn't like bananas, which is
I hate
weird.
them.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why.
Exactly. So we have to get away from that. And one of the ways that we can do that is by making sure that we have a valid claim, which is the first feature of an argument is your claim. It's figuring out what you're arguing. And then we'll talk about the other features of an argument, which include reasons, evidence, and counterclaim. So claims, they have two criteria. They have to be arguable, meaning that two reasonable people like Dr. Zaire and myself could disagree about it.
Absolutely.
There are some things that cannot be argued though.
Right. And one is verifiable statements of fact, right? So there's no arguing that the earth is round. I mean, there's some niche groups that believe it's flat, y'all. I feel like science has shown us, like
I've seen pictures from outer space.
Right. It looks round. It's round, y'all. It's round.
Yeah.
So again, that's a statement of fact. It's been verified. It's been vetted, right? George Washington was America's first president, right? I mean, like,
yeah, I saw Hamilton. I know that's true.
That's true. That's where we're getting our history nowadays.
It is.
But you could argue about the basis of a fact, right? And that's where, science really comes into play. And so an example is the solar system, right? Our solar system, we have 9 planets, but now Pluto's back.
I think Pluto's back, you guys.
Pluto's back. According to this video, at this particular moment, Pluto is back.
Pluto's always been a planet because the song that I know about the planets includes Pluto, so that's what's up.
Right.
Here. Yeah.
Right. So we have those verifiable statements of fact that really can't be argued. Another one is issues of faith or belief. You cannot argue faith. The whole idea of faith is believing in something that doesn't need to be proven, right? So just in that in itself, you can see that issues of faith or belief cannot be argued.
Right. Like it's believing in something with the absence of evidence, so it doesn't qualify. And then the third thing are matters of personal opinion or taste. So yes, you're never going to convince me to like bananas. I can acknowledge that they're healthy, that they contain potassium, blah, 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 but I'm not going to like them. Or was that I thought cargo pants are, I think cargo pants are ugly.
She doesn't like many things, y'all. She's really nitpicky.
Like milk either.
She doesn't like milk.
A lot of thoughts.
It's all right.
Okay.
But so back to the claim real quick. This, if you think about it in an essay, this is essentially like your thesis statement. It is the thing that you're arguing overall, is your central claim. So when you're writing an argumentative paper, you want to think about what is your claim? What is it that you're arguing?
Yeah, it's just another fancy word for saying it. That's
Absolutely.
what we're learning in this class. So here are some examples of valid or invalid claims. So if I say the most awesome kid in the world is my son Max, he's 8 years old. Dr. Thayer has 2 awesome kids too.
I do.
And but that's an opinion, right? That's personal taste. By no metric is probably my kid the smartest or fastest or best, even though I love him the most. That's because he's my kid, right?
And awesome is kind of, what does awesome mean?
Right.
So that's a personal taste, right? So that's that personal opinion. You can't really be defended with valid, credible research, right?
Next, dogs make the best pets. That's something I believe.
It is true though.
Reasonable people could disagree if you were like a cat person or
Feel
rabbit, whatever.
If you're into, go ahead.
But you could bring in evidence to show that dogs make the best pets because people who have dogs live longer. Did you know that?
I did.
Because they go outside.
They provide conditional love. They're mainly used or mostly used for therapeutic animals versus cats, right?
We get a dog.
They're the
best.
Yeah. Cats are whatever. And the people that say cat, but my cat's much better. It's because it acts like a dog.
It is true.
That's why.
It's true. Next example, teaching is the best job in the world. Now that is my opinion, but I could turn that into a valid argument, right? Like what's nice? What did we do this summer? Besides all stay in our houses, but what else did we do?
Are you asking me did I go on vacation?
I'm asking you, did you do whatever you wanted? Well, this summer was a weird anomaly, but for the most part,
I did. For the sake of moving this video along, I did whatever I wanted.
Done with you. So we could turn that into an argument, right? We have a lot of flexibility in our schedules. We feel like we make a difference in the world.
We get to know you guys, and that's a lot of fun. Y'all do some weird stuff, and it's really fun.
Right. So anyways, we could keep going, right? But the idea is that claims have to be debatable. So you want to make sure when you're identifying your claim that it is arguable. That 2 reasonable people could disagree.
Absolutely.
The next thing a claim has to be is specific. And this is a part where students tend to struggle
Yes.
a lot in my experience. Usually they're pretty good about the valid and invalid claim piece.
Right. So an example of this is the drugs are bad. Drugs are bad. Okay. So again, you can kind of see that drugs, there's a lot of drugs out there. Miss Fletcher, feel free to share
What
your
else?
knowledge of drugs. What do you know?
Oh, I'm sorry.
How many drugs do you know?
I know just the regular drugs. Although I always learn more in class with my students.
Oh,
I learned
man.
about Flocka and bath salts, and I learned a new one last time. I can't remember what it was.
That is Flocka.
It's all Flocka.
I mean, but there's so many different drugs
yeah,
out there.
but even like there's good, right? I have sinus problems we could get into, but I'm on all sorts of prescription medication to manage my sinuses. I'm super addicted to a drug, which is caffeine.
Mhm.
Love it.
Yeah.
So anyways, when you say drugs are bad, there's a ton of different drugs that you, right? That's not specific. And bad.
What does bad mean? Right? It kind of goes with that word awesome. What exactly does that mean?
Right.
And so whenever you have a broad claim like that, drugs are bad, it allows that conversation of well, what about this? What about this? What about this? Right. And so when we think about prescription medications, when we think about, caffeine, when we think about, drugs that are new vaccines coming out, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we can't say all drugs are bad. That's just way too big. There's not enough nuance in there.
Right.
So that's why you have to be much more specific.
Right. Are they bad because I spent all my money on
Crack?
Yeah, crack or meth or something. My teeth came out. Is it the emotional toll it has on families? That sort of thing, right?
Absolutely.
Caffeine is bad because I get a withdrawal headache if I don't have it twice a day, promptly at 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. So like that's bad, but it's not really hurting anybody else. So mind your business. So be sure you're specific in your claim. So if this is the feedback that you're getting from us, this is what we're talking about when we talk about claims being specific.
Yes.
All right, next up. So you've got a claim. I've got my claim. My claim is awesome. Next, I need reasons.
Yes. And whenever you're coming up with reasons, you want to think of the why, right? Why do I feel, prescription drugs are harmful? Okay. Well, because of their life altering that's altering
typo
life altering side effects, right? And so what that does is it really makes you focus in on, okay, we're not talking about the financial aspect, we're talking about the life altering side effects of it, right? What are some of the dangerous side effects of taking opiates, right? We could look at just that, the overprescription of oxy and whatnot, and today. So the because part, that reason part, really helps you focus in, and it makes for a better essay. Students tend to think, well, I won't have enough to write about. Not true. Not true. Not true. Whenever you don't narrow it, you have too much to write about, and it's way too broad.
But your reasons need to be based in fact. So they can't be prescription drugs are harmful because I think so.
Right.
Or because my friend.
Because my uncle has a problem with oxy and blah, blah, blah.
No.
That's just a personal story.
Right. Okay. And then next you need evidence. And this is where your research comes in, and y'all love doing research. We will probably use the databases further on in the semester.
Absolutely.
The library databases where you can find really good, credible sources, as we were talking about in the beginning of class. It's really important to find credible sources from a variety of sources. So
absolutely.
We will talk about that later on in the semester, but that is why we need that.
And then in addition to having evidence, you want to think about the opposition, right? You have to forecast what would people who disagree, what would they say? And so you really need to look at that the counter claim, right? And so that really helps strengthen your argument whenever you look to see, okay, I understand that some people think that oxy is helpful because XYZ. However, and so that's a way of countering your or providing the opposing viewpoint in your own argument that actually strengthens your argument.
And just like Dr. Thayer said in the beginning, things are rarely black and white. Like opioids are harmful if prescribed,
overprescribed.
But I mean, I've had multiple not to bring it back to my sinuses, but I've had multiple sinus surgeries, and those are really painful. And afterwards, I took Percocet to help deal with the pain. And in that moment, those opioids were quite useful for me.
Absolutely. Right? Major surgeries. I mean, you name it. And a lot of people have chronic pain, right? That, unfortunately, that's the only thing that could help them.
Right.
So it's important to address that counterclaim because it shows that you've done your research on both sides.
Yeah.
That's really important. So just to recap, argument needs to be two things. It needs to be arguable and it needs to be specific. So whenever you're writing essays for this class, make sure when we ask for that central claim that you're making it arguable and specific. We're going to continually come back to that. All right, guys, thanks so much. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.